Hi everyone, this is July from Paradise Earth, and I just wanted to say before we get started, this is like a lot of the angles in this video are like so-so, and like the lighting is like kind of weird, so just bear with me for some of these shots. But this is just going to be a short story time video. This shouldn't be too long, and I just want you guys to kind of um, I just kind of want to share this story with you guys that I thought was really important and it made a big impact on my life. And um, hopefully you guys can resonate from this experience and learn some things with me. So um, it isn't a negative experience, and it definitely has a happy ending. So just stick around, guys, and bear with me today. Okay, love you all. The birds are chirping, the pigs are squealing, the farmland prospers and the city gossips, doing this or that for worldly gains. Even the kindest hearts get washed away, praising the plum sun and the light it brings, our fortune intertwined like the autumns and springs. The blues intermingle, this modern world hums, the past is fruitful and yet destiny sways, loving unconditionally for the rest of my days. Don't cry, smile at fate. I'm sorry, it's already too late. This child young, yet ever frail, the yellow angel finally sets sail. By heaven, July, my heart will not fail. Hi everyone, it's July from Paradise Earth. Welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. It's going to be my second video on the channel so far. The topic of today is going to be a little bit more extreme, a little bit more serious, so you've probably already read the title, but it's probably going to be something like how I helped my friend survive, or preventing suicide, things along those lines. So yeah, I just wanted to say before this video starts, this is a bit more of a negative subject, but I don't want it to be received in like a negative light. This story does have a happy ending, and I want you guys to remember that and take this topic into something that can transform your world into a more positive place, because that's what this channel is for in the end. Again, guys, I don't want this to be a overly dramatic or negative situation. I just want to share to some of you guys some of the things that have been happening in my life, and kind of explain like how I think you guys can be a little bit of a better friend and a little bit better of a community member in a more meaningful way. Okay guys, here we go. So, story begins about 3 years ago. This is in 8th grade. There was this kid that transferred into my middle school, and I didn't really know him that much. I didn't speak to him very much during 8th grade at least. But some of my friends knew him, and some of my friends sat with him at lunch and that kind of stuff. So I kind of heard his name being tossed around from time to time, but I didn't really interact with him or anything like that. That was until freshman year. So when freshman year came around, I did actually meet this kid for the first time. Since some of my friends knew him, he would come into our class during this like academic prep time. You could kind of like walk around the school and choose what kind of classes you want to be in. But he would come into our classes sometimes, and so because of that, I kind of started to get to know him. And for the sake of the video, we're just going to call him Mael. That's going to be his name, Mael. And so we started getting a little bit closer. I started talking to him more often because of acad prep and the fact that a lot of my friends had a lot of his classes too. They were getting a little bit closer, so I was kind of pulled into that as a result, which sometimes is a bad thing, but in this case it was a good thing because I eventually came to learn that we lived in the same neighborhood, and not only that, but our houses were like right on the same route of each other, so we could walk home together and both of our houses would be hit perfectly. So I want to say towards the end of that first semester of freshman year, we started walking home together, and at first I was a little bit prejudiced because of his appearance, as all people are sometimes, but point is, I didn't really think of him as anything special. He seemed pretty ordinary, pretty plain, which is really my fault because all people are special, but that's not the point. Point is, we started walking home together a lot, and as the semester went on, we eventually started going both ways. So we would walk to school together and from school together. So I'd wait in the morning for him at his house, and he would open up this garage, he'd walk out, and we'd walk to school together. And then after school, we'd walk back home together. Eventually, I started looking forward to our little walks to and from school. We'd talk for a little bit, and I'm sure he felt the same way. So anyways, the point is so far that I built a pretty close bond with this kid, his name, that we're just gonna call Mael for now. But anyways, months passed like days, and eventually it was July, and my birthday's in July, obviously. But because of that, I had my birthday party, and I invited him. I invited Mael, which meant a lot because I only tend to invite my super close friends. So the fact that I invited him despite only knowing him for about a year, that kind of said a lot about our relationship. That it really had developed over the course of just a couple months, to be honest. And that summer, something I had also gotten really into was like working out and that kind of stuff. So eventually I started inviting my friends. Once I got like a little bit bored, I would just ask my friends just to come, maybe just for like 1 or 2 workouts. And then for the most part, it would only be like a couple, like a one-off thing. And usually it would just be me and one other person, one of my other friends, and I invited Mael a few times. And he seemed to enjoy it. He said he worked out sometimes with his friends, but he wasn't really super committed or anything. He didn't take it super seriously. He just sort of did it for fun, which is wonderful. But anyways, point is, I started hanging out with this kid a lot more. And because of that, we started becoming very close. I definitely say by the start of sophomore year, he was definitely like one of my top tier friends. I don't really like the concept of like ranking people, but he definitely was a really good friend to me, and I try to be a really good friend to him too, which is going to be important coming up soon. So we keep talking, we get closer and closer, we keep going on trips together, we keep going on our walks to and from school together, and sophomore year we all started class together. We had 3rd hour Spanish together, and that teacher was super nice. She let us sit wherever we want. So it was a group of like 4 of my friends that sat together. It was me, Mael, and then 2 of my other friends that we were all friends with each other. So it was like a nice little group. Anyways, one of the first times we went, it was around October at this point, October my sophomore year, and we went on this one field trip to this convention center where there were all kinds of people presenting, and it was a pretty fun experience. And Mael, he seemed a little bit distant, which was a little bit strange because he seemed like a pretty bubbly person. He was a very smart person, that was for sure. And I think he did have a lot of positive energy when it came to him, but around this time it just seemed that he was a little bit distant, a little bit colder, a little bit more like emotionless almost. Which was okay, of course. I didn't really know too much about him. We had only known each other for about a year, which wasn't really enough for me to tell that anything was wrong. And I was just sort of under the mentality that it's not always about trying to understand someone, but more loving and respecting their opinions regardless, which is something important that I came to learn. But anyways, also around this time, late October, early December, I started asking him to come over to my house to work out again, but I recommended this one workout program to him. It's called Bull Math Stiff. It's a free program, and anyways, I started to ask him to start running the program, and it was an 18-week program. He started first week of November, and I told him about like all the successes I had with it and how good of a program it was for personal growth and that kind of stuff. And so he was happy to start running it. He said that was a great idea, and we got started the first week of November. So the program that I put him on, it was a strength-based program. So Mael was trying to develop like his strength, and at the same time kind of make his body look better. There was a little bit of bodybuilding program in there, but as the weeks were going by, he was getting a lot better. Like his strength was going up. He was lifting heavier and heavier weights, and he was doing super well. He was honestly improving at like a super impressive rate. And he was always super into it. He was super passionate with the idea of like lifting weights, and he was always like super emotional. Like whenever he would lift a new personal best weight, he would always be super into it, and he'd always be super excited and those kind of things. But point is, he was growing a lot during this period, and he was getting super into like the whole idea of like powerlifting, which is the idea of like lifting super heavy weights. And I was also into that kind of sphere. I had started in freshman year, so I had about a year's of experience at that point. And so whenever Mael came over to my house to work out using the program, I'd always be there for him. I'd always be tracking all of his reps, all of his sets, and then I'm always critiquing like his technique and those kinds of things. And then of course I'd always be pushing him, you know, shouting at him to work hard and those kinds of things, and motivating him and all that kind of stuff. So I was really kind of almost like a coach to him. It was kind of more beyond just like, oh, we're just friends working out, and more of like, I'm helping him improve, and I think that was something really important. And it was really cute because eventually he started calling me sensei, because he looked to me for a lot of guidance, because he didn't know too much about weightlifting when he first started. Like I said, he used to go with his friends to the gym, but that was just sort of a for fun thing, and he wasn't really making any noticeable improvements. But when I started lifting it with him, one of the first things I did was like be super cracked down on his technique. Like, oh, you have to lift the right way, otherwise you're gonna get hurt, you're not gonna be able to lift as much. And this was something I prioritized a lot with him. And so we came to learn the importance of the more like methodical ways to approach that kind of situation. And that was one of the things that really caused him to improve, is he was always super meticulous with how he trained, and he was super passionate with it too. He was always super excited, and he brought a great attitude every day, which is something I'm honestly blessed to have received during this time period, and something I'm grateful for to this day. So months passed like days, and once again he's coming to the end of his program. It's been almost 18 weeks now, and he's definitely very into it. He's having a lot of fun, and he's grown a lot. He's come super far. But I was slowly teaching him more and more, and eventually he gained a little bit of self-sufficiency in a way. And so we get to the point where it's almost the end of sophomore year, and he's finished the 18-week program by now. And he's like, what's next? And I'm like, whatever you want, because it was always about him, and it was never about like what I wanted as like a quote unquote like coach. Like there was no next step. So he took some time off. He took a couple months off. I want to say towards like April, May-ish. We were walking home from school again one day, and he was like, I want to come back to you. And I'm like, what do you mean you want to come back? He's like, I want to start another program with you. I want you to keep training me. I want us to keep growing. And I'm like, of course. So I offered him my services again. We started training on a completely different program that I personally created. So I personally made this, and this was something I was giving to him completely for free. And I put in a lot of work to help him grow. And months are passing like days again, and it's almost the end of July again, and he's come to the end of this program that I personally made for him for weightlifting. And then we were also doing sprints together, so we were also getting more bonding time by doing lots of sprint workouts and those kinds of things. And so because of that, there was a lot more time for us to just talk and just like kind of just be friends, because it really become more of like a coach-trainer bond, and we kind of had almost forgotten that we were friends in a way, which is, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but we kind of just needed that time to kind of catch up as like one-to-one, as like people. And so I remember there's this one day that it was a sprint workout, and so we were at our local park just barefoot on the grass just doing sprints, and we had just finished the workout. It was getting dark, and we just did some stretches, and then we were starting to walk home, starting to walk back to the car, and then we would drive home. But okay, quick change of angles there, but the park was just getting a little bit crowded, and I didn't want little kids hearing about this. But basically what happened was, as we were walking back to the car, we were just started reminiscing on like some of the experiences we had together lately, and he was telling me like July, and I'm just like, what? And he's like, man, I just had like one of the best experiences of my life with you. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's just like, these past like 6 months, 6 to 9 months that we have been on a program, it's just been some of the most fun stuff I've ever done, and I think I've truly found my passion, and that really made me feel something deep inside my heart, that like, I can really make experiences good for people. And he kept going on, and I was just like, I'm so happy I could give you this experience. I'm so grateful that I could be there for you. And he was like, July, and I'm like, what? And he's like, you pulled me out of a really dark time. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, that program was one of the best things that happened to me. He said, at that time, which I didn't know, but he was going through clinical depression. He was having suicidal thoughts, and I didn't really know, and he kept going on to say that it had to do with his girlfriend. They broke up, and she was sort of abusive, and that's not really the point, but whatever happened between them, it caused him to go through, it caused him to be really messed up psychologically, and that's not something I ever really understood during this time period. I thought he was just kind of emotionally flatlined, which was a little bit naive of me, but the good thing was I was just sort of staying there with him. I wasn't trying to understand him or trying to understand what he was going through, but I was just giving him love and respect and acceptance regardless. Always accepting his opinions, always accepting his emotions and his feelings, and I think because of that, he was eventually able to open up to me. He told me he didn't even really tell his parents or his family or anything like that. So the fact that I was the first one that kind of heard that really affected me a lot. Yeah. Okay, guys. So park's getting really crowded, so I'm gonna go home. But yeah, we're gonna finish this off vlog style. But what the point is, and what I want you guys to take away from this video is that a lot of times in life we aren't presented with situations where we can like directly help and change the outcome. A lot of times it's fated by heaven to determine who will win, who will lose, all those kinds of things. So what I just want you guys to remember is there are gonna be a lot of situations that are gonna be in your control, and other ones where it's just gonna be a matter of your presence. That's what I want. That's what I want this to be about. It's your presence that ultimately changes things. And especially in my situation, it was just my presence that kind of allowed him to keep going during those times. It wasn't I did some manipulation technique or anything like that, or did some kind of action that helped him out. It was just I was there and I kept being myself, and I didn't even need to know that he was going through tough times in order to keep doing that. And I just want you guys to reflect in the sense that like there may be situations in your life in the past or maybe in the future that you guys don't even know about yet, and it's just going to be a matter of, are you going to be there? Are you going to be completely present? And is that presence going to change the situation? And maybe that's not in your control, but we just have to be able to accept these things, and we just have to be able to love them regardless. That's the whole point of this video. Is honestly, that's the whole point of my life, is just understanding that there's going to be a lot of situations that we're not going to be able to control, but we're just going to have to love the outcome. And if you're ever feeling suicidal thoughts right now, I just want you guys to think that all of those factors that aren't in your control a lot of those factors that aren't going to be in your control. It's just going to be a careful game of, am I going to be able to still love this outcome regardless, and am I going to be able to change it? And if I can't, then what can I do to still be in love with this, life, and be in love with this paradise we call Earth? So I'm not a therapist, but I think it's just about perspective a little bit, and that makes me happy. Just thinking that I can live the same life, I can make all the same choices, and I could be super sad or I can be super happy about it. But yeah, that's all I've got so far. I'm only 16, so I don't know too much, but hopefully I just have put some thoughts in your guys' head. Put some thoughts in your guys' head that you guys can think about, and maybe your situation will be a little bit better because of that. Alright, that's gonna be a wrap for today. It was a long day, I can't lie. I've been out here for like 3 hours, and I had to change spots a bunch of times because like it would get wet like on my seat or whatever, and it would be like gross and just like, yeah, and there was just like people everywhere, and I'm like, maybe if this was just like a relaxing video about like how to make your friends happy, that would be good. But it was kind of a rough story, but I think that's a good thing. I think sometimes I need to go through these things, and it was a good experience for me. That's what I mean by it was a happy ending. And so yeah, I hope you guys can share some of these experiences with me in the future, or if you already have, you can kind of resonate with the words that I'm saying. But if anything, I just wish that you guys can go through some of these feelings that I have and grow because of that. And if you guys can resonate with the words of this video, then that makes me really happy. But if you can't, then I still hope that you can be happy and you can still love the paradise around you regardless. So yeah, I think this is gonna be a wrap. This is my second video, so yeah, there's that. And I think that's gonna be it. So this is gonna be July from Paradise Earth, and that'll be it. Have a blessed day, everyone. Wishing you all the best. I love you all.